Men, pay close attention. When a woman realizes she's lost you, her behavior changes in ways you might not immediately recognize. But the signs are there if you know what to look for. This is not about games or manipulation. It's about understanding female psychology and how women instinctively respond to emotional loss. The way she acts reveals her attachment, desire, and level of emotional investment, and it can teach you a lot about her true feelings. Many men misinterpret these behaviors. They assume that distance, coldness, or mixed signals mean she's moving on. But often, these are exactly the responses that come when she's processing the realization that you are no longer emotionally available or invested. Her mind starts analyzing the relationship, recalling what she may have taken for granted, and weighing her options. In this video, we'll break down 7 key reactions women exhibit when they know they've lost you. From sudden emotional shifts to increased attention, subtle testing, and even attempts at rekindling connection, these behaviors are deeply rooted in psychology. Understanding them allows you to read her actions clearly, respond strategically, and maintain your independence while she navigates her emotions. By the end of this video, you'll know how a woman truly behaves when she senses she's lost you, why these behaviors occur, and how to interpret them without overreacting or compromising your value. This knowledge gives you clarity, control, and insight, so you can make decisions confidently while observing the psychological dynamics at play. 1. Emotional shifts. Men, the first thing you'll notice when a woman realizes she's lost you is dramatic emotional shifts. Her mood may swing from indifference to sudden sadness, or from coldness to moments of unexpected affection. These shifts are not random. They are her mind processing the reality of losing a man she values. Emotional shifts are a natural psychological response, reflecting both regret and fear of permanent loss. When she senses your detachment or realizes you've emotionally withdrawn, she starts to reassess her feelings. This can create confusion for you because she may appear inconsistent. One moment, she seems distant or defensive, and the next, she's reaching out or showing vulnerability. This fluctuation is her way of navigating guilt, desire, and reflection simultaneously. It's also a test to gauge whether your distance is genuine or temporary, and to see if she can re-establish connection. Psychologically, emotional shifts occur because women are wired to evaluate attachment and investment. Your absence or loss triggers self-reflection, emotional processing, and heightened awareness of your value. She may feel regret over mistakes or missed opportunities and begin calculating whether she wants to try to regain your attention. These internal processes often manifest externally as sudden bursts of emotion, sometimes affectionate, sometimes frustrated or defensive. How you respond to these shifts is critical. Overreacting or trying to immediately fix her mood undermines your authority and reduces your perceived value. Instead, maintain composure, observe carefully, and respond selectively. Brief, calm engagement or subtle acknowledgement is often enough to reinforce your independence while allowing her emotional processes to unfold. Emotional shifts are also a signal of increased awareness. They indicate she's reflecting on your absence and recognizing the consequences of losing you. Men who understand this principle realize that emotional volatility is not manipulation. It's her mind recalibrating, assessing her attachment, and grappling with the loss of your presence. Ultimately, recognizing emotional shifts as a natural reaction empowers you. It prevents confusion, strengthens your ability to maintain control, and gives insight into her feelings without requiring you to chase, explain, or overcompensate. Emotional shifts are her mind reacting to your value, and how you handle them determines the dynamic going forward. 2. Increased observation. Men, when a woman realizes she's lost you, one of the most telling behaviors is increased observation. Suddenly, she starts paying attention to everything you do, your routines, how you interact with others, even the small details she may have ignored before. This isn't coincidence. It's her subconscious way of assessing what she's lost and determining whether she can still reclaim your attention or influence. Increased observation often appears subtly at first. She may notice changes in your social media activity, comment on things you've posted, or ask casual questions about your day. She might analyze your body language, tone, or responses in conversation. Even seemingly minor gestures, like remembering small preferences or referencing past moments, indicate that she is processing your absence and evaluating the emotional space you occupy. Psychologically, this behavior is driven by scarcity and the realization of loss. When a man becomes emotionally distant or shows he is no longer invested, it creates a gap. Women instinctively scan for signals that indicate whether the connection can be restored or if the loss is permanent. This hyper-awareness is her mind recalibrating her emotional strategy, gauging how much she values you, and considering the potential consequences of losing you entirely. How you handle increased observation is crucial. Responding over-eagerly, explaining too much, or trying to recapture her attention immediately reduces your perceived value. High-value men maintain composure, respond selectively, and let her observation reinforce your independence. Short, confident interactions, without chasing or over-explaining, signal that you are secure, self-respecting, and not easily influenced by emotional fluctuation. Increased observation also functions as a subtle test. She is watching to see how you respond to her renewed attention and whether your emotional distance is genuine. Men who understand this principle allow her to notice the gap without compromising their own position, reinforcing their high-value presence and maintaining attraction. Ultimately, when a woman becomes hyper-aware after sensing she's lost you, it's a reflection of the emotional and psychological impact your presence or absence has on her. Recognizing this behavior allows you to interpret her actions accurately, respond strategically, and maintain control of the relationship dynamic. Her observation is proof that your value is significant, and how you manage this phase determines whether she respects, desires, and engages with you meaningfully moving forward. 3. Testing. You subtly men, one of the clearest signs a woman realizes she's lost you is subtle testing. These tests aren't always obvious. They're small, calculated behaviors designed to gauge your emotional availability, confidence, and whether your detachment is genuine. When she senses that she no longer has your full attention or investment, her subconscious mind begins assessing whether she can regain influence or if your absence is permanent. Subtle tests can take many forms. She may make teasing or slightly provocative comments to see if you react, bring up topics from the past to gauge your emotional response, or create situations where your reaction can reveal vulnerability. Sometimes she might act distant, only to follow up with sudden attention, measuring whether you chase her or maintain composure. Even seemingly minor acts, like checking your social media or referencing other women, are often attempts to understand your emotional boundaries and attachment. These tests are rooted in psychology. When a man is perceived as high value, independent, and unattached, women instinctively evaluate whether they can still influence him. Testing is a way for her to measure your reaction without overt confrontation. It's a mix of curiosity, desire, and emotional processing. She's trying to understand whether losing you is permanent or if there's a chance to regain your attention. How you respond to these subtle tests is critical. Reacting with frustration, over-explaining, or chasing her reduces your perceived value. Instead, maintain calm, measured engagement. Short, confident responses, subtle humor, or even strategic silence demonstrate self-respect and emotional independence. These reactions signal that your attention is earned and not easily manipulated, which increases attraction. Subtle testing also provides insight into her emotional state. Observing her behaviors allows you to gauge desire, attachment, and curiosity. Men who recognize these patterns strategically allow her testing to reinforce her awareness of your value without compromising boundaries or chasing her approval. Ultimately, subtle testing is a natural response to your perceived absence. It shows she is reflecting on her investment and trying to assess her position in your life. By responding with composure, selectivity, and confidence, you maintain authority, deepen attraction, and allow her to realize the impact of your presence or absence without giving up control of the dynamic. 4. Seeking validation. Men, when a woman realizes she's lost you, one of the most common behaviors you'll notice is a sudden push to seek validation. This doesn't mean she's manipulative in every case. It's a natural psychological response to the awareness that your attention, respect, or presence is no longer guaranteed. She wants reassurance that she still matters, and this often manifests in ways that test your emotional reaction. Validation seeking can appear subtly or overtly. She may comment on how others perceive her, reference compliments from friends, or seek your opinion more frequently than before. Sometimes she'll dress differently, change her behavior, or send messages that hint at attention seeking. Even small gestures, like sharing achievements, posting on social media, or lightly bragging, are often attempts to gauge your interest and measure your reaction. Psychologically, this behavior is rooted in the realization of loss. When a man is emotionally detached, confident, or moving forward, it triggers a self-assessment in her mind. She starts questioning what she lost, how you perceive her, and whether your attraction can be reignited. Seeking validation becomes a tool to test your reaction, understand her value in your eyes, and explore whether she still holds influence over your attention and emotions. How you handle this is crucial. Responding excessively, chasing, or overpraising reduces your perceived value and reinforces dependency. High-value men maintain composure, respond selectively, and allow her actions to reflect her feelings without compromising boundaries. Brief acknowledgement, confident conversation, or subtle teasing is enough to reinforce independence while letting her seek validation naturally. Seeking validation also serves as a mirror for her emotional state. The more she reaches out, hints at attention-seeking, or tests your reaction, the more she's processing regret, desire, and reflection on what she's lost. Observing these behaviors gives you insight into her emotional attachment, curiosity, and level of interest without overanalyzing or chasing her approval. Ultimately, when a woman seeks validation after realizing she's lost you, it's proof that your presence mattered and your absence is being felt. By responding with calm authority, selective engagement, and clear boundaries, you maintain control of the dynamic, reinforce attraction, and allow her reflection to reinforce your high-value status. Validation seeking is her way of assessing the consequences of losing you, and how you handle it determines whether she respects your independence or tests your attention further. 5. Testing limits. Men, another clear behavior a woman displays when she realizes she's lost you is testing your limits. This isn't about overt aggression, it's subtle, calculated, and designed to measure how far she can push before your boundaries hold firm. She's trying to understand whether your emotional distance is real, how much she still matters, and whether she can regain influence over your attention and energy. Testing limits can take many forms. She may act flirtatiously in public or private, provoke reactions through teasing, or push boundaries in conversation to see how you respond. She might challenge decisions you've made, question your priorities, or create scenarios that force a reaction. Even small behaviors, like hinting at jealousy, making indirect comments, or revisiting sensitive topics, are ways she gauges your composure and emotional control. Psychologically, this behavior stems from the realization of loss. When a man is emotionally detached or has shifted focus away from her, it triggers self-assessment. She wants to see if your attention can be reignited, if you are still responsive, and how much influence she holds over your emotional state. Testing limits allows her to explore the boundaries of your independence and gauge whether she still matters in meaningful ways. How you respond is critical. Reacting emotionally, over-explaining, or giving in to provocation reduces your perceived value and encourages repeated testing. High-value men maintain calm composure, enforce boundaries consistently, and respond selectively. Strategic engagement, short, confident responses, subtle humor, or playful acknowledgement demonstrates that your attention is earned and not automatically available. Testing limits also provides insight into her emotional state. The more she pushes, the more she's processing regret, desire, and curiosity about your emotional investment. Observing these behaviors allows you to evaluate her intentions and determine the depth of her attachment without compromising your independence or self-respect. Ultimately, testing limits is a natural response to the awareness of loss. Women instinctively measure how much influence they still have when they sense a man may no longer be emotionally available. By maintaining authority, composure, and clear boundaries, you reinforce your high-value presence, protect your independence, and allow her actions to confirm the impact of your absence. How you handle this phase determines whether she respects your space, desires your presence genuinely, or continues to test your attention unnecessarily. 6. Attempting reconnection. Men, when a woman realizes she's lost you, one of the most obvious behaviors is attempting reconnection. This is her way of testing whether your absence is permanent and whether she can regain the emotional bond that she fears is slipping away. Attempts at reconnection are driven by reflection, regret, and a desire to re-establish contact before it's too late. Reconnection can take multiple forms. She may reach out via text, call unexpectedly, or find reasons to spend time with you. Sometimes it's subtle, a comment on social media, an unexpected message referencing a shared memory, or a playful tease. Other times, it's more direct, such as asking to meet in person, suggesting activities together, or initiating deeper conversations about the relationship. Even small gestures, like remembering details you've mentioned or trying to evoke nostalgia, indicate she's processing her emotional loss and testing whether she still matters. Psychologically, reconnection stems from the realization that your presence is valuable and that your absence carries weight. Women instinctively respond to emotional scarcity and independence. Your detachment highlights your value, creating an internal drive for her to regain connection and measure your emotional availability. This is not necessarily manipulation. It's a natural response when attachment, desire, and regret converge. How you respond is critical. Chasing, over-explaining, or immediately giving in diminishes your perceived value. High-value men maintain calm, deliberate responses. Engage selectively, with confidence and composure, demonstrating that your attention is not automatic. Brief acknowledgement, subtle humor, or measured conversation communicates that you are aware of her attempt without compromising your independence. Attempting reconnection is also a form of testing your boundaries. She wants to see whether your emotional distance is real, whether your interest can be rekindled, and how much influence she still holds over your behavior. By observing these actions carefully, you gain insight into her true feelings, level of attachment, and emotional investment. Ultimately, reconnection is a sign that your absence matters. Women naturally gravitate toward evaluating emotional loss, and your composure during this period reinforces your high-value presence. By responding strategically, you protect your boundaries, maintain attraction, and allow her actions to confirm the impact of your presence or absence without diminishing your authority or self-respect. How you handle reconnection determines whether she respects your space and maintains genuine interest or simply tests your attention repeatedly. 7. Signs of regret. Men. One of the most powerful indicators that a woman knows she's lost you is clear signs of regret. Regret is an emotional acknowledgement that she may have taken you for granted, mismanaged the relationship, or underestimated your value. When she experiences this internally, it often manifests externally in subtle and sometimes dramatic ways, giving you insight into her true feelings. Signs of regret can be seen in her words, actions, and tone. She may apologize for past behavior, express remorse for mistakes, or reference times when she should have acted differently. Sometimes, she'll reminisce about positive moments, highlight your qualities, or bring up shared experiences to evoke emotional connection. Even indirect behaviors, like checking in on your life, commenting on your achievements, or showing increased attentiveness, reflect her awareness of the loss and her desire to gauge your response. Psychologically, regret is driven by the realization of scarcity. Losing a high-value man triggers reflection on what was missed, how her choices affected the relationship, and what she risks permanently losing. This process often motivates attempts to reconnect, subtly test boundaries, or seek validation. Women instinctively assess whether they can regain your attention and emotional investment while grappling with their feelings of guilt and desire. How you respond to signs of regret matters. Overreacting, chasing, or seeking constant reassurance diminishes your perceived value. High-value men maintain composure and control, responding selectively and with confidence. Acknowledgement can be minimal but firm, demonstrating awareness without over-investing emotionally. This reinforces your independence while allowing her to process her emotions naturally. Signs of regret also provide clarity about her attachment level. Men who recognize these cues can interpret her intentions accurately, distinguishing between fleeting desire, genuine reflection, or attempts to manipulate emotional reactions. Observing without overcommitting preserves authority and strengthens attraction. Ultimately, regret confirms that your presence mattered more than she realized. It's a natural emotional response when a woman experiences the consequences of losing someone valuable. By responding strategically, maintaining boundaries, and observing her behavior carefully, you reinforce your high-value status, preserve independence, and allow her actions to validate the impact of your absence. How you manage this phase determines whether the relationship can be repaired on your terms, or if her realization remains a lesson she experiences without regaining your attention. Men, when a woman realizes she's lost you, her behavior changes in ways that reveal her true feelings, attachment, and level of emotional investment. Emotional shifts, increased observation, subtle testing, seeking validation, testing limits, attempts at reconnection, and clear signs of regret are all natural responses to the awareness that your presence is no longer guaranteed. Understanding these behaviors allows you to interpret her actions accurately, maintain control, and protect your self-respect. The key is composure and selective engagement. Overreacting, chasing, or trying to immediately fix her behavior diminishes your perceived value and undermines your authority. High-value men observe carefully, respond strategically, and maintain boundaries while letting her emotions unfold naturally. This approach reinforces independence, strengthens attraction, and ensures that any connection she seeks is earned rather than expected. Recognizing these patterns also gives you insight into her mindset. It tells you whether her actions are driven by genuine reflection, desire, or simply a response to scarcity. By responding with confidence, calm authority, and measured attention, you protect your emotional integrity while allowing her to experience the impact of your absence. Ultimately, men who understand female psychology know that absence reveals true attachment and desire. How you handle this phase determines the dynamic of the relationship, whether it's rebuilding respect, reinforcing attraction, or simply maintaining your independence. Your presence is valuable, your attention is earned, and your boundaries define your authority. Women notice, reflect, and respond. And the way you manage this period is the ultimate demonstration of high-value behavior, self-respect, and control in modern relationships.